If David and my mom stay together and get married and move in together, which is what their plan is, David's going to be a big part of raising Truly. And I think that's where it's important for Dad and David to meet, is in regards to Truly.
Once again, we have a situation where the kids are acting with more maturity than the parents. It seems like Christine is upset and she's excited about Kody meeting David, and she's a little nervous about it because she doesn't know how Cody's going to react, and it just feels funny because this is the guy she was married to for 30 years, and she's focused on that. Kody is focused on making sure that his relationship appears to be better than Christine's relationship. I don't care that you left me. Look at how happy I am. And he's worried about that. The thing that everybody who is involved with this situation needs to be concerned about is that you have a child together. You have a minor child together. And because you have a minor child who lives with one of the parents, you want to make sure that the individuals or adults who are being introduced to your child's situation or environment are safe for your child and productive for your child and healthy for your child. So that would be my purpose if I was Kody. I would want to meet the man who is spending so much time around my kids, because as Christine has revealed, she talks about how she basically lives with David. So David either is at Christine's house or she's over at his house. And there's a strong possibility that when David is over there at Christine's house, Truly is right down the hallway. There's also another possibility that when David has Christine over, maybe he set up a room for Truly at his house. These are things that maybe as a fan or a person who watches the show, I don't need to know. But if that was my daughter, these are questions that I would have and answers I would need to get. And there's also a big part of this that we have to talk about. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The first thing we have to really address is the fact that Kody has grown up and basically had these children in an environment where the mothers were responsible for maintaining his relationship with his kids. Very little was placed on his shoulders as far as, being a man who's going to step up and make sure that there's a safe and comfortable environment for his kids to be able to come to him if there is a problem. This to me is a huge problem and a huge deficit, because as we talk about co-parenting, and especially as we talk about introducing new paramours into this co-parenting situation, I need to be able to have an open phone line and open communication with my child or kids that if something were to ever happen, they feel comfortable with calling me to either call me to come pick them up, call me to talk to me, call me to ask a question, something is said or something is done that maybe, it's not outright or overt, but it just doesn't feel right. I want them to feel comfortable with making that phone call to me and being able to have the trust that I'm going to respond with their best interest at heart, not my own pride and me trying to get a one-up on a mom, but me actually looking out for them. These are the types of relationships that really would help in a situation where you have a co-parent situation. That also goes a long way, because if something were to come up, you have to be able to step to the custodial parent or the other parent and say, look, this is what's happening. This is what's going on with our child. What are we going to do about it? Without them turning around and saying to you that you're just saying that because you're jealous. As we talk about Christine living in Arizona, while she was in Arizona, she was down the street from where Kody and Robin lived. And it's my understanding that every time Kody left the McMansion, he essentially had to drive by the house where Truly stayed. And at no point did he turn his car into that driveway and go up and knock on the door to check Truly out and see how she was doing. So you weren't really concerned about her when she lived down the street. Now all of a sudden she's living in Utah. Now all of a sudden you got to be a part of her life, and you got to, have visitation, and you have to see her and you have to talk to her every day. But let's take a look at the whole meeting and how, David comes up and he has a conversation with Kody, which is weird too, because I would have walked in. I know who David is, or I at least would have figured it out because, Christine and David were sitting there talking. I would walk right up to him. Hey, how you doing? This is who I am. I'm James. Nice to meet you. Who are you? And what's your name? What are you about? Okay, you're dating her. That's great. I'm glad that that's working out. But let's take a look at the first meet.
How's it going?
My boyfriend David. Cody.
David, nice to meet you. I'm Cody.
Cody. Robin, David.
Nice to meet you. How long have you guys been dating?
A month and a half.
You've seen the kids, you know the kids.
Oh, he knows all the kids.
He babysat them by himself while we went and got pedicures.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's not everything.
I'm used to a lot of kids.
Ooh, Robin was like, whoa, he's watching the kids. Oh my goodness. Oh, woo, this is not good, because Robin even recognized that Kody has never watched them kids by himself. It's kind of a barrier that all of a sudden within 2 months he's watching the kids. That would be a concern for me, that this relationship is so short that all of a sudden he's not only with my lady and he's around my kids, but he's around the grandbabies and watching them by himself. This is kind of fast. So I would have concern there. But I think Robin is seeing it from a different perspective, because she knows that Kody has never watched them kids by himself. He's never been asked to watch them kids. And I've said that on both of my lives, my Sunday night live right after the show for the after party, as well as during the time I was talking to Sarah. And it's funny to me that in both instances, the comment section, the chat box, lit up and said, Kody don't watch his own kids, so he's not watching no grandbabies. And that's 100% accurate. He's not watching his kids, so he ain't driving 4 hours so he can watch some grandkids. It's just not happening. So already David's doing stuff that Kody's not doing or willing to do. That's an issue. But one of the things that my wife had actually brought up, why is he asking about how long they've been dating? Why is that the first thing he asks? And my response is, in my opinion, is that usually when people start asking the new boyfriend how long you started dating and how long you've known each other and that kind of thing, that comes from a place of, I want to figure out if the relationships actually overlap. I want to find out if she was actually cheating on me with you. In Kody's mind, knowing guys that are similar to him, he doesn't believe that a woman will walk out on him because of him. No, that can't happen. So the only way she would leave me is if she was somehow tricked by somebody who she thought was better than me.
She was leaving. She found something better. She was leaving me for a better, richer man.
Now, let's not get it twisted. Kody's not protective of the babies or the bambinos and the kids because he's worried about the kids and the grandbabies. He's worried about the club. He's worried about the institution that he feels like he founded and created. This is my club, and these are my club members. And I have this person coming in trying to poach my members. And this can't happen because my club is for me. This is an exclusive club for me. And so I'll be damned if the woman who is basically the Pied Piper of parents, who's taking all the kids away, is out here dealing with another man who's carousing with her and now dealing with my kids and now trying to take over my club. That's not appropriate. So he's not arguing for the well-being of his children as much as he's arguing for maintaining his leadership position over the organization as opposed to the Brown collective as a family. And as we talk about that, we got to make note that Kody's priorities in this entire situation are all the way wrong. You need to worry about this man who's only known your ex-wife for 2 months, and all of a sudden they talk about buying a house and getting married. That's who you need to worry about. But instead, we're treated to Kody's priority of what he thinks about his relationship and what he thinks about his current wife when he had this to say.
I'm here with my shy and pretty wife, my one pretty wife, and she's shy. She's not shy with me. I have a very special bond with her.
And this is the point where Kody is doing the whole, high school level competition. My girlfriend's better than your girlfriend bullcrap. My girlfriend is the captain of the cheerleading team. Well, my girlfriend is a former Diesel jeans model.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't matter. Okay, this is a conversation that I would expect from somebody who is in their early 20s at best. Maybe, and this is giving a lot of grace. Kody is better than half a century old at this point. Okay, you've been on this planet way too long, and you should have enough experience in your mind and your heart and your soul to understand it doesn't matter how pretty your wife is if you guys aren't compatible. Like, you're sitting there talking about how pretty your wife is and how, low key shot. Hey, Christine, my wife is prettier than your girlfriend. But at the end of the day, David could have fired right back. Okay, well, even if that's true, and I'm not conceding that point, but even if that were true, let's pretend that Robin is way better looking than Christine. Christine ain't trying to send me out to another woman's house because she's tired of having me around, bro. Like, that's the subtle difference. Story time. My mom had a saying, beauty is only skin deep, but ugly, bitter, and nasty is to the bone. Okay? And when you look at this situation, you could have somebody who is physically very attractive, very easy to look at, but if they're a nasty, horrible person, you don't get along with them or you're not compatible, none of that matters. Because after you get finished doing the fornication and the fighting, as Kody had said previously, after you get finished doing that, you're going to actually have to have a conversation with them. You're going to actually have to spend time with them. And that determines on how long and how productive your relationship is going to be moving into the future. All of that, in the grand scheme of things, is completely irrelevant. Kody wants to compare relationships. Aren't you guys the ones that say comparison is the killer of all joy? Why care about her apple when you got an orange? I say, why care about the fruit, your Fruit Loop, when we're talking about your child? We're talking about your kid's well-being. He had this to say when he was talking about how David presented himself to Robin and Kody.
What was interesting is David made more eye contact with Robin and talked to Robin way more than me.
Now, let's be honest. When you say that, I felt like David was making more eye contact with her, Robin was engaging with him more. She was talking about stuff that he was interested in talking about. When Kody had the floor and he was talking about stuff he wanted to talk about, the only thing he was talking about was how much snow he got and how much he had to shovel outside his house and how he had to shovel the driveway. Who gives a shit? Okay, we're here talking about family stuff. I'm trying to get to know you. You're trying to get to know me. You want to talk about the weather. Family things, how I feel about family, how I feel about kids, how I feel about being around kids, how I feel about life in general. These are things that are important and relevant to your child's situation who I'm going to be in contact with. The weather, that's a conversation you could have with somebody on a bus stop. Let's get it together, people. Let's get it together. Now, as an aside, there is a point where, I hate to say this, but if I have a complaint or I have something important to talk about, I like to talk about important issues with people who are decision makers. I like to talk to the boss. And when I hear Kody say, well, he kept looking at Robin and then wanted to look at me in the eye, all I could think about was actually this.
Oh, I'm sorry. You thought I was talking to you. No, Aaron boy. I'm talking to your boss.
Because I'm sure Christine has already given the lowdown on what the family structure and dynamic is. Like, how many times have we watched it? There's an instance where Kody went over to Christine's house. She talked about taking the equity out of her home and going to buy another house in Utah and giving them Kody pass. And Kody was cool with it until he went home and had a conversation with Robin. Then he came back and the whole thing changed. So he had to go back and run it past the boss. And the boss decided to hit the big veto and send his ass back to try to get some of that money out of Christine's house and try to make that argument that, the family gave you money, so you got to give up some of your equity, Christine. Like, so at the end of the day, if I'm David, I might not talk to Kody. Why am I wasting my time talking to you? Because she's going to be the one who decides whether Truly is coming over your house. She's going to be the one who decides whether we actually have to go back and forth to custody court or whether we have to do something as far as child support. She's going to be the one who decides what the money and the time looks like. So why am I wasting my time talking to you when I could be talking to your boss? At one point, David had said that he had 8 kids. He had 10 grandkids. He said he spent his whole life around polygamy. My question would be, well, I'm a polygamist. She's a former polygamist. My relationship, even though I'm a former polygamist, I was forced into polygamy or monogamy because I lost all my wives. So I would ask David, do you have more than one wife? Are you a polygamist? Do you plan on being a polygamist? Now, some people might say, well, James, what business is that of yours? Who she have in her bedroom? It's none of my business who she have in her bedroom and what they do in the freaky deek in the sheets. That's none of my business. That's not why I would be asking. Why I would be asking is because I want to know who and how many are going to be around my kid. How many people are going to be in and out of that house? So is this a situation where, Christine is going to be one of 3 or 4 sister wives? So now I'm not just dealing with one person who's going to be in a disciplinary, authoritative role over my child. Now I'm dealing with several people. So yeah, that's a relevant question. I would want to know from me. Like I said, I would tap that source. Tap the source. And there was another weird part that I wanted to bring up, and it was talking about the whole grandkids episode. Let's take a look at that.
Have fun with them.
There's so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
The grandkids are the best.
They're better than kids.
Hey.
I enjoy them.
don't think so.
Because the reason
I have
why
a
is
7-year-old,
because-
and I still think that she's funner than any of my
But
grandkids.
when they get older, they're just like, they do their own thing.
Yeah.
But they love Grandpa.
Now that obviously was a basic rote trope, cliche that everybody throws out when they talk about kids. When you don't have kids, you talk about how great it is that you don't have kids. And when you go over and babysit or you hold somebody's baby and the baby boom, or they get ready to look like they about to throw up or tear their pants up, you hand them right back to the parent. Here you go. But Dad, you're back on duty, and you take off. That everybody has this conversation. As grandparents, you have this conversation because it's easier to be a grandparent. Why? Because now you're not responsible for the disciplinary actions of that child. You can spoil that child as much as you want. You can give them all they want. Even as a person who is babysitting a child, you sit there and say, what time is mom coming back? Your mom is going to be here at 5 o'clock. The child come up to you at 4:30 and say, hey, can I have some candy? You sure can have some candy, little Johnny. Why don't you go over there and get some soda to wash it down? Have a great time. Isn't this the best house? Don't you love coming to hang out, Mr. James? It's amazing. You love hanging out with Peepaw, don't you? Who doesn't want to do the grandpa thing? Because that's the position where you get to enjoy all the benefits of having children, but you don't have to deal with any of the drawbacks. So this is just basically a rote conversation. But Kody's response and his desire to try to interrupt David and say his little bit about, I want to be disagreeable with you. So I want to be a contrarian. So you say, I love being a grandfather. I'm going to tell you how I love being a parent. Well, if you love being a parent so much, why aren't you being a parent to these kids? Because I'm sure David has already been downloaded on that. So I don't even know why you brought that up. I can't escape the fact that these two are habitual rake steppers. They part of the rake stepper club. This is what they do. They just put their foot in the mouth all day long. Kody is standing in a house with his ex who broke up with him because she basically feels like he has favorites and he abandoned his kids. He says, I love my 7-year-old more than I love my grandkids. So you're standing in the house with a kid who feels neglected because you're not around, and she feels like you have favorite kids. You say that you do have favorite kids and you prefer those favorite kids over your grandkids, even though you're standing there holding one of your grandkids. And speaking of that special relationship, we had an opportunity to see this contrived example of this special relationship between Kody and his 7-year-old daughter.
Obviously, somebody's going to get a little bit of snow in their face because we're going to have some fun.
Watch out! Oh! Don't threaten me. No! You just hit the truck.
It was at this moment Kody knew he messed up. Murder face, you just hit the truck. If you caught it earlier, he said, don't scratch the truck. She didn't just scratch the truck. She put a dent in the truck. I don't even want to bash his relationship with his youngest daughter. I hope they have a wonderful relationship. I hope he has a wonderful relationship with all Robin's kids. But see, the thing is, I want him to have a wonderful relationship with all his kids. Try to rebuild those relationships. Focus on trying to rebuild those instead of trying to rebuild or show up and impress your exes. Worry about your kids. Those those exes are gone. They're your exes for a reason, as the song says. So worry about your kids. Worry about building that up. The first and foremost thing that should be on Kody's mind is making sure that the person or people who are going to be around his kids are going to be positive influences for his kids. And they're going to create a positive environment where his kid can grow and feel safe and secure. Now, a big part of that is where Kody is going to struggle is the fact that you haven't done it in the past. It's a beautiful thing. She actually has Christine. And if Christine's not there, she has her brothers and sisters. And if they're not there, she has Janelle and she has Janelle's kids. So she has a supportive environment around her, which is very important. There's a lot of kids who don't have these things. I would encourage, especially any non-custodial parent, make sure you stay involved with your kid, because if something were to happen, you need to be able to snap in there and take over if necessary. Ultimately, as parents, we always like to say that if something were to happen, I'm ready to go to jail. I'm ready to kill or die for my child. I don't care. I love my freedom, but I love my kids even more. All that good stuff. Oh, if somebody messes with my kid, I'll put them in the ground. All that's great and all that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for your child, why aren't you willing to make the minimum sacrifice for your child, which is your time? Why aren't you willing to make sure that they're okay? Why aren't you willing to make sure that they have a safe, open line of communication to you, to where if something were to happen, it's going to be something that may be embarrassing to them, something that they don't want to share with just anybody. So you have to be a trusted source where they feel like they can pick up that phone and have that conversation with you. And the only way you can have those types of conversations if you have a built up relationship, which gives them the experience to where you're a trustworthy person. That's my take. Let me know what you guys think down below, because I love reading the comments, love hearing what you guys have to say. That's my take. I'm James. This has been My Take on Reality, and I'm out.